Imagine yourself a midsummer day in Tucson. It's about 105 degrees in the shade, and the heat is inescapable. Now, we all know those days. This morning, it's July 25th. A 17-year-old wakes up in an outdoor hallway of a motel because her mother's abusive boyfriend wouldn't let her in that night. Now, this was just one of many transitional places they've lived since they were about 7. As that unstoppable Tucson heat crept over them, they could feel that deep hunger, that ache in their belly. So they pulled their backpack from under their head, the safest place they knew to keep their valuables, unzipped it, and pulled out a couple of granola bars. Today, they wouldn't have to steal their meal. My name is Lanay. I'm a peer educator, a community organizer, and a former EON youth participant. And that 17-year-old was me. EON is an LGBT youth lounge where youth from 13 to 24 can drop in and find a place where they can discover their authentic selves. Like the 30% of LGBT youth experiencing homelessness that come to EON, I found safety and refuge in the EON youth and the community I built there. As EON youth participants are provided with bus passes, clothing, food, hygiene items, and support group services, all of which help us connect and create our own community. This year alone, EON has provided these much-needed services to nearly 500 local youth. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. EON Youth is the first and only space of its kind in Southern Arizona. EON doesn't just provide these necessities like food, on-site showers, and laundry facilities. EON also helps promote advocacy, empowerment, and autonomy through things like youth-led town halls and healthy relationship groups. But right now, we're not doing enough. We're only doing enough to survive, and that is not enough. With your gift of $1,000, that means EON can provide an additional 400 bus passes to youth, so they have agency to get to the safety that they need within EON's walls. With your gift of $10,000, that means youth EON serves will have hygiene items, gender-affirming clothing, and food for another year. That's over 2,000 food items provided to youth who don't have to steal their next meal. And with your gift of $100,000, we can help EON double their impact to serve it to, oh, thank you.
Hi, Lanay. So happy to see you. Glad you're here. You know, I'm a huge fan of yours, and you did a great job. Your presence and your voice and your speaking is lovely. I have some feedback for you, though. Having worked with and for SAAF quite a bit over the past few years, I think it's really important that you talk about SAAF, since that's the organization that you're representing, even though EON is the program. So you've got a challenge because you've got EON, you've got the Center on Fourth, and you've got the Southern Arizona AIDS Foundation. So somehow I think you need to get those, if I were speaking from that organization's perspective, I would want those 3 things to come out in this speech. So I think you have to figure that out, especially since it's going to say SAAF, but then all you talked about was EON, right? So I think you got to kind of figure that piece out. I thought that all of your description of your own story, so beautiful, and all the little details that made me see you with your backpack and being stuck outside and eating a granola, all of that was really, really awesome. And bringing that around with the numbers and things was great. When you started to say, we're not doing enough, there was that sentence, we're not doing enough, and then you said something right after that. It almost felt like a criticism of the organization that you're talking about. It didn't feel like you were saying the need. I think you should talk about the need being greater rather than we're not doing enough, right? Or the community could be doing so much more, something like that. It just struck me in a weird way. And then definitely on the ask. I don't think the 3 things that people are paying for are quite yet compelling or powerful. It's hard to understand why $10,000 for hygiene and food and clothes, it didn't quite compute for me. And so I think those 3 things probably just need some reconsideration. We'll see what other people say.
Hi. I thought your delivery was really great. I just thought you paused. You weren't a script, and I thought that was terrific. And I love the build up to who that kid was. You know, that was compelling. If you could just find a way to not pace.
Okay.
Movement is good, but maybe cut it in half. Like walk over, stop, but not so much of it. And I liked your proof of performance stats that you included in there. And maybe, I guess, to what Laura was saying is maybe you could say, you know, we could be doing so much more, but we just need a little more help. We need help to help. Something like that.
Yeah, on that same topic, you either need to define what enough would be, or I think the other thing you could potentially do is you've earned some personal credibility on this through the beginning of this. You could talk about what more would have done for you. In either way, and you're compelling and it's good, so I'm just going to trust whichever one you write that you think is best is probably right. But I think those are 2 ways that you could kind of handle that. What Laura said about, you know, the organization and the physical presence and the program, I would play around with trying to define all of them. I would also play around with trying to just really specifically define what EON is and what it's doing, because I think, I mean, we can work around it. We can, you know, identify you as, you know, from SAAF, the EON project, or something like that. But we need to be really darn sure exactly what EON is in a way that I don't think that you really were able to convey in those 3 minutes. This one's really nitpicky, but when you say that teen was me, there needs to be a little bit more space between that teen and was me, and it can either just be a pause and a swallow, or it could even be some words just saying that teen who, you know, kept her backpack under her head all night was me. But you need to give us more than 2 actual seconds to make that connection. But I think that was it. Just remember, you're really, really credible in delivering this message in a way that other people aren't. And I think you can take advantage of that in a few more places than you are right now. It's not just a neat reveal. It's, you know, really kind of central to why you're asking people to do this and why you're spending every day doing it. And just make sure that you're beating us over the head with it, because it's good enough that we almost kind of forget that, and we shouldn't. So great job. Keep it up.
Thank you.